Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next hour, Prime Minister Narendra Modi lays foundation stone and inaugurates several development projects on the occasion of Golden Jubilee celebrations of Sikkim, says entire Northeast emerging as a shining chapter in India's progress. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh delivers stern message to Pakistan, says India could have done much more during Operation Sindoor. People of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir are our own part of our family. US Federal Court blocks Trump's Liberation Day tariffs, rules that President overstepped his authority by imposing across-the-board duties. US to revoke visas of Chinese students adds new restrictions. Policy may affect 3 lakh students. And in Indian Premier League, RCB to take on Punjab Kings in Qualifier 1 at Mulanpur. Winner to book the ticket for finals. So, Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the Sikkim at 50 celebrations in Gangtok via video conferencing today and congratulated the people of Sikkim on 50 years of remarkable progress. Prime Minister laid the foundation stone and inaugurated multiple development projects in Sikkim. These included a new 500-bedded district hospital worth over ₹750 crore in Namchi district, passenger ropeway at Sangcholing Pelling in Gyalshing district, and the statue of Bharat Ratna Atal Bihari Vajpayee at Atal Amrit Udyan at Sangkhola in Gangtok district. Highlighting Sikkim's developmental journey of 50 years, Prime Minister said that northeastern state has become a model of progress and has emerged as a symbol of the richness of culture and heritage.
सिक्किम सिर्फ हिल स्टेशन नहीं, ग्लोबल टूरिज्म डेस्टिनेशन बने। सिक्किम के सामर्थ्य का कोई मुकाबला ही नहीं है। सिक्किम टूरिज्म का कंप्लीट पैकेज है। यहां प्रकृति भी है, अध्यात्म भी है, यहां झीलें हैं, झरने हैं, पहाड़ है और शांति की छाया में बसे बौद्ध मठ भी है। कंचनजंगा नेशनल पार्क, यूनेस्को वर्ल्ड हेरिटेज साइट, सिक्किम की इस धरोहर पर सिर्फ भारत नहीं, पूरी दुनिया को गर्व है।
And hailing Operation Sindoor, Prime Minister Modi said India has given a clear message to the whole world that our nation is a strong and fearless nation which will not tolerate terrorism in any form. He was addressing a gathering in Sikkim as the state is celebrating its 50 years of statehood.
आज पूरी दुनिया देख रही है कि भारत पहले से कहीं ज्यादा एकजुट है। हमने एकजुट होकर आतंकियों और उनके सरपरस्तों को साफ संदेश दिया है। उन्होंने हमारे बेटियों के माथे से सिंदूर पोंछकर उनका जीना हराम कर दिया। हमने आतंकियों को ऑपरेशन सिंदूर से करारा जवाब दिया है।
And Prime Minister Modi also visited Alipurdwar district located in the northern part of West Bengal. PM Modi laid down the foundation stone for the city gas distribution project in Alipurdwar and Cooch Behar districts. This project, costing more than rupees 1,010 crore, aims to provide piped natural gas to over 2.5 lakh households and many businesses along with 19 CNG stations for vehicles. It will provide convenient, reliable, environment-friendly and cost-effective fuel supply and create employment opportunities in the region. And on the next stopover, Prime Minister Modi will visit Bihar, where he will inaugurate the newly constructed passenger terminal of Patna Airport. He will also lay the foundation stone of the new civil enclave of Bheta Airport worth over Rs 1,410 crore. The Bheta Airport will serve the town, which is rapidly emerging as an educational hub near Patna, housing IIT Patna and the proposed NIT Patna campus. On 30th May, Prime Minister will inaugurate, lay the foundation stone and dedicate to the nation multiple development projects worth over Rs 48,520 crore in Karakat. And aimed at boosting the infrastructure and connectivity, Prime Minister Modi will lay the foundation stone and inaugurate multiple development projects in Uttar Pradesh. On May 30th, he will inaugurate the Kanpur Metro Rail project worth over Rs 2,120 crore. Additionally, he will also inaugurate road widening and strengthening work of GT Road. In order to boost power generation capacity in the region, multiple projects will be undertaken. Prime Minister will inaugurate a 660 megawatt Panki thermal power extension project in Kanpur worth over Rs 8,300 crore, enhancing Uttar Pradesh's energy capacity. Prime Minister will also distribute certificates and checks to the beneficiaries of PM Ayushman Vandana Yojana, National Livelihood Mission and PM Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana. And Defence Minister Rajnath Singh said India could have inflicted more damage while retaliating to Pakistan's terror attacks with Operation Sindoor, but it exercised restraint. Addressing the inaugural plenary of Confederation of Indian Industry Annual Business Summit, Defence Minister said to boost self-reliance, recently the execution model for the AMCA, the Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft project, has been approved, which aims to build 5th generation fighter aircraft in India.
साथियों, आपको जानकर यह खुशी होगी कि रक्षा क्षेत्र में सेल्फ रिलायंस आत्मनिर्भरता को बढ़ावा देने के लिए अभी 2 दिन पहले एमका प्रोजेक्ट को, जो 5th जनरेशन फाइटर एयरक्राफ्ट भारत में ही बनाने का प्रोजेक्ट है, उसको आगे बढ़ाने की एग्जीक्यूशन मॉडल को मंजूरी दे दी है। ये एक बहुत ही बोल्ड और बहुत ही डिसाइसिव डिसीजन लिया गया है, जो भारत की डिफेंस कैपेबिलिटीज को मजबूती प्रदान करने के साथ साथ इस देश में एरोस्पेस सेक्टर को एक डेप्थ और एक नई हाइट प्रदान करेगा।
And Defence Minister asserted that India has redesigned and redefined its strategy and response against terrorism. He added that now talks will only be held on terrorism and POK.
हमने आतंकवाद के खिलाफ भारत की स्ट्रेटजी और रिस्पांस दोनों को रीडिजाइन और रीडिफाइन किया है। हमने पाकिस्तान के साथ अपने एंगेजमेंट और स्कोप ऑफ डायलॉग को रीकैलिब्रेट किया है। अब जब भी बात होगी, केवल आतंकवाद पर बात होगी, पीओके पर बात होगी और किसी दूसरे मुद्दे पर पाकिस्तान के साथ बात नहीं होगी।
And Defence Minister reiterated that POK is part of India and the people who got geographically and politically separated will sooner or later voluntarily return to India.
भारत हमेशा ही दिलों को जोड़ने की बात करता है और हमें विश्वास है कि प्रेम, एकता और सत्य के मार्ग पर चलकर वह दिन दूर नहीं जब हमारा ही अंग पीओके स्वयं लौटकर कहेगा, मैं भारत हूं, भारत ही हूं, मैं वापस आऊंगा और वापस आया हूं।
And highlighting the need and importance of self-reliance, Chief of the Air Staff Amarpreet Singh said that in the current situation globally, it is best to be now ready to be future ready.
It is trying its best to do maximum possible as far as Make in India is concerned, Make program, IDEX program, the number of orders that have been given to the Indian industry. some of the rules that the government made. I'm not saying that we would have come on this path on our own. There were times when we were always, doubting the Indian industry that it cannot give us the kind of return that we want, it cannot give us the product that we want, and we were looking outward more. But over the last decade plus, I think things have changed quite a bit. A rap on our knuckles has made us think inward and look inward, and then we realized that yes, there are a lot of opportunities that we have within India, and now also the current situation in the world has made us realize that Atmanirbharta is the only solution. But we have to be now ready to be future ready.
Right, and for a broader understanding of Defence Minister's statements and India's indigenous power, we are joined by Mr. Alok Bansal, who is the Director of India Foundation. Welcome, Mr. Bansal. Appreciate you giving us your precious time. Prime Minister Modi gave a stern message to Pakistan in the morning, and then Defence Minister said that India could have done much more, and those residing in the POK are India's own people, while India exercised restraint during Operation Sindoor. Tell us, Mr. Bansal, how big and strong are these statements by the Prime Minister and then by Defence Minister Rajnath Singh?
See, firstly, let there be no doubt that we have given a very, very clear message to not only Pakistan but to international community as far as the defense capabilities of India are concerned. And I think Pakistan was taught a lesson by Op Sindoor. And we have come out with a new doctrine by which any terror attack will be considered as an act of war. Having done that, I think what was significant during this particular operation was that we showed and exhibited extreme restraint. We could have actually gone on for a longer period, and Pakistan's ability, both economic as well as military, would have withered away completely. But we showed excessive restraint because we did not wish to escalate the conflict. Our purpose was only to target the terrorists initially and their infrastructure. And when Pakistan retaliated to target their military infrastructure with barest minimum collateral damage. And that's what we achieved. The precision strike carried out by Indian weapon systems at Pakistani airports, runways, hangars, air defense radars, air defense systems very clearly highlighted the effectiveness of Indian weapons, especially those that were made in India.
Yes.
And during this conflict, BrahMos missiles, which is, as it is considered, one of the best in their category, showed exemplary results. Akash surface-to-air missile and Akash Tir systems performed immensely well. There were indigenously built drones which also proved their worth. And it is in this light that we need to understand what Raksha Mantri said when he said that POK will of its own volition join India, because a lot of people wanted that India should have gone whole hog and captured. What he wanted to say was that we do not wish to capture it militarily. The people of this region for quite some time have been agitating to join India. They have been agitating against Pakistani occupation. And I think in due course of time, the people of this region will rise up against Pakistani control and voluntarily join India.
Mr. Bansal, also, since we are talking about Operation Sindoor, Defence Minister also said that through Operation Sindoor, it has been proved that Make in India is important for the national security, and termed the execution model for AMCA program to build 5th generation fighter aircraft in India as a bold and decisive step. You think it will take the domestic aerospace sector to greater heights?
See, there is no doubt. I think there was a period in independent India when we actually allowed this system to languish. After Maruth till Tejas came out, there was a long gap when this sector somehow did not attain its rightful position, because we had started well, and I think somewhere we lost the thing. And now with this 5th generation aircraft, we will achieve excellence as far as global aerospace industry is concerned. This will create immense number of jobs, because there are so many vendors who will be created for supplying various smaller items and parts. And of course, what Ops Sindoor showed was that it is your indigenous capability which matters, because there are limitations on import, what you can import. There are problems of assembly lines, there are problems of logistic supply, but your indigenous industry actually provides you a perpetual supply line, and which actually allows you to pursue a conflict even for longer durations if required. And I think this realization dawned because we saw indigenous systems performing exemplary well during this time. And this was actually the first baptism by fire as far as many of these weapon systems were concerned, especially like Akash and BrahMos, which not only got baptized by fire, but also I think global community saw them and saw their efficacy, as well as many private sector entrepreneurs who had actually devised number of drones which were effectively used during this conflict. They also came of age, and they actually showed their mettle in times of war.
Mr. Bansal, also over the years, India has strengthened its defense system, giving priority to indigenous weapons, like you are also saying, and the country is manufacturing state-of-the-art weapons with its own technology without depending much on other nations. How significant is that? And also, if you can give us the sense of how is the future weaponry planned?
See, there is no doubt that we have given enormous emphasis on indigenization. And in fact, Prime Minister Modi's Make in India was primarily premised on defense sector. And in fact, he welcomed even foreign investors to come and invest in India and set up production facilities in India. He even allowed 100% of FDI in certain select sectors. Having said that, I think what has transformed in last few years is that the moving of private sector into this particular sector. Because in the past, this was seen as a closed sector where only public sector units ventured. And public sectors have traditionally had their own inefficiencies. Now private sector is moving, and moving in a big way. I think there are Tatas, Mahindras, Reliance. They have set up many defense industries. In fact, other companies are also moving in. We have seen shipyards, we have seen aircraft building facilities, we have seen guns, armored vehicles. So everything and anything now private sector has moved in. So that is actually a transformative change, because private sector has the dynamism, and I think very soon you'll find that not only most of India's requirements will be met by indigenous industry, but this indigenous industry will start exporting. We have already seen some of our equipment being exported. We have seen BrahMos and many other Dhrov, etc. have been exported. But in times to come, India will emerge as a major defense exporting hub.
Absolutely. The way we are going, India will be among the world's strongest nations in terms of defense power in the coming years. We'll leave it at that. Thank you, Mr. Bansal, for your time.
Thank you.
Still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. India's multi-party delegations continue to expose Pakistani cross-border terrorism globally. Northeast braces itself for rainfall. IMD issues red alert in several places. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. Taking India's message on zero tolerance for terrorism, Indian multi-party parliamentary delegations are engaged in high-level discussions during their official visits abroad. The all-party parliamentary delegation led by Member of Parliament Sanjay Kumar Jha interacted with resident ambassadors of friendly countries in Indonesia and shared their insights on India's calibrated and strong response through Operation Sindoor. The delegation spoke of the heinous attack on innocent civilians with the sole aim of fomenting religious discord in India, emphasizing that India would have zero tolerance to terror and discussed a unified international effort to combat the menace of terrorism. The delegation also held an insightful interaction with scholars and researchers from Indonesia-based think tanks and academia and conveyed a strong and unified message of zero tolerance for cross-border terrorism to maintain peace and regional stability, and sought to jointly explore ways to combat this menace. And in Saudi Arabia, an all-party delegation led by Member of Parliament Baijent J. Panda engaged with Saudi civil society, including leaders from government, think tanks, business and media. They shared India's views on combating terrorism, highlighting Operation Sindoor and exploring ways to further strengthen India-Saudi Arabia strategic ties.
After decades of trying everything, even having continuous dialogue, even while we were getting attacked, you've seen what happened in Mumbai in 2008, but there are literally hundreds of such examples. And we come to the same cycle again and again. When Pakistan denies that it is involved, then it gets exposed as more and more evidence comes out. In this instance also, evidence has come out with IP addresses, with identification of the terrorists, which ties them to Pakistan.
In Italy, another multi-party delegation led by Member of Parliament Ravi Shankar Prasad highlighted the success of delegations meeting with Italian parliamentarians and said that there was commonality of understanding about India's position against terrorism. Earlier on Wednesday, the delegation interacted with India-Italy Parliamentary Friendship Group chaired by Senator Giulio Terzi de Santa Gata in Rome. The delegation also held meeting with President of the Committee on Foreign Affairs and European Commission of Italy's Chamber of Deputies, Giulio Tremonti. And the all-party parliamentary delegation led by Member of Parliament Kanimori met with senior officials from Greece's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, including Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of Greece, on Wednesday. During the meeting, the delegation underscored New Delhi's uncompromising approach towards terrorism. The delegation firmly conveyed that there can be no differentiation between terrorist actors and those who shelter them.
We come as a delegation to express our anguish and also to seek the support of Greece and the European Union, and also to ensure accountability for what has been happening from the Pakistani side in the United Nations Security Council, and the parliamentarians and the lawmakers here have understood what is happening in the Indian soil.
While interacting with the Indian diaspora, Kanimori added that the government's outreach, which includes opposition MPs, reflects a united stance against cross-border terrorism and a firm resolve to say no more after years of suffering. Indian diaspora expressed their full support for India's effort and solidarity with the nation in the wake of recent terror attack in Pahalgam.
Any kind of terror should be condemned, and India has condemned it in a right way. There is a place and time to give a response, and we fully stand with the Indian government in the response which they have meted out. And as an Indian diaspora and as an Indian community, we truly stand behind our government. We have only targeted their terrorist sites, and the response is truly deserved. And it's not only war on terrorism, now it is war on perception as well, and that is why the Indian delegation is here. The perception is really required, and we are doing everything, Indian government is doing everything it can to build that perception.
And pursuing India's renewed commitment to counter-terrorism and regional stability, an all-party delegation led by Member of Parliament Shri Shinde arrived in Sierra Leone's Freetown. During their stay in the West African nation, the delegation will hold talks with parliamentarians, think tanks, media and civil society to further unmask Pakistan's cross-border terrorism. Earlier on Wednesday, the delegation, while en route to Sierra Leone, halted in Leone, the capital city of Togo, for transit and held discussions on Pakistan-based terrorism and Operation Sindoor. On to weather updates now. The southwest monsoon arrived early this year, sweeping into Kerala, Tamil Nadu and much of Karnataka and Maharashtra days ahead of the schedule. In Kerala, MD has issued red alert in 8 districts and orange alert for rest of the state. Throughout the state, 44 relief camps have been opened where more than 300 families have been shifted. Meanwhile, the northeast is preparing for more southwest rains as fairly widespread to moderate rains accompanied by thunderstorms, lightning are likely for the coming 7 days. With flood risk rising, state authorities have swung into action. Emergency response systems have been activated and ministers are on the ground assessing vulnerable zones. Efforts are also underway to clear encroachments in flood-prone areas aimed at tackling the root causes of flash floods. All right, we'll go across to Dibrugarh in Assam. DD India's Subina Roy has joined us for more information. Subina, what's the forecast and what all districts are on high alert and red alert too? And also tell us about the advisories that have been issued for the next few days.
Yes, Abhishek. The IMD has issued red alert for several northeastern states of the northeast like Nagaland, Mizoram, Meghalaya, Assam, Arunachal Pradesh. And various districts of Assam have also, the IMD has issued yellow alert and red alert. This is due to the cyclonic circulation that was there in northwestern part of the Bay of Bengal, which is now moving northward. And yesterday it came across the south of Assam, and today it's making its landfall in the western part of Assam and the southern part of Assam. So the IMD has issued extremely heavy to very heavy rainfall in Dhubri, South Kalmara, Gwalpara, Borpeta, Bongaigaon, Kamrup, Karbi Anglong and Shribhumi districts. And yellow alerts, which means heavy to very heavy rainfall along with gusty winds in Kokrajhar, Chirang, Buxa, Morigaon, Nagaon, Hojai, Sonitpur, Udalgiri, Sribhumi. So these are the districts which IMD has issued yellow alert, and Guwahati also experienced quite a bit of rains, and therefore the IMD has issued, strict preparedness. The governor also yesterday took a meeting where he said where the state preparedness was taken into account, and various ministers are visiting the flood-prone areas. The vulnerable areas are being identified. Wherever there is wherever there is embankment breach, it is being mitigated so that floods don't occur. And for city areas, the IMD has issued red alert for city areas of like Silchar, Hailakandi, Sribhumi, Guwahati, and especially for the Guwahati city dwellers, because downpour means waterlogging problems, traffic jam problems. Then there are land Guwahati surrounded by hills, so there may be incidents of landslides. So the people have been asked to move to safer areas, so that they are not affected.
Absolutely, and preventive measures have also been taken by the government to mitigate the impact of rainfall. We'll leave it at that. Thank you for your input, Subina. Still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Russia proposes to hold next peace talks with Ukraine, second round in Istanbul on June 2nd. Elon Musk calls it quits, announces he is leaving his role in the US government. And world observes International Day of UN Peacekeepers 2025 today. The day recognizes service and sacrifice of peacekeepers.
issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Recap of our top stories. Prime Minister Narendra Modi lays foundation stone and inaugurates several development projects on the occasion of Golden Jubilee celebrations of Sikkim, says entire Northeast emerging as a shining chapter in India's progress. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh delivers stern message to Pakistan, says India could have done much more during Operation Sindoor. People of Pakistan occupied Kashmir are our own part of our family. US federal court blocks Trump's Liberation Day tariffs, rules that President overstepped his authority by imposing across-the-board duties. And in a major blow to President Donald Trump's trade agenda, a federal court has blocked most of his sweeping import tariffs, ruling they exceeded presidential authority. The decision halts one of the boldest moves in Trump's America First trade war and could have broad implications for executive power. Our report.
In a ruling that shook Washington and global markets, a three-judge panel on the Court of International Trade blocked most of the import tariffs imposed by Donald Trump during his time in office. The judges said the president overstepped his legal bounds, using emergency powers meant for national security threats to launch a sweeping global trade offensive. The court found that the 1977 International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or the IEEPA, does not give the president unlimited authority to impose tariffs, especially on nearly every country in the world. The White House called the decision an affront by unelected judges and insisted the administration would continue to fight what it calls a crisis in trade. The ruling also quashes duties that Trump imposed on Canada, Mexico, and China separately using emergency powers. Analysts warn the legal uncertainty could further rattle financial markets already on edge. Trump defended his tariff threats by saying it's called negotiations and went on to claim that the US has been very nice to China.
You mean because I reduced China from 145% that I set down to 100 and then down to another number, and I gave the European Union a 50% tax tariff, and they called up and they said, please, let's meet right now. Please, let's meet right now. And I said, okay, I'll give you till July 9. I actually asked them, I said, what's the date? Because they weren't willing to meet. And after I did what I did, they said, we'll meet anytime you want. And we have an end date of July 9th. You call that chickening out? 6 months ago, this country was stone cold dead. We had a dead country. We had a country people didn't think it was going to survive, and you ask a nasty question like that. It's called negotiation. You set a number.
The Trump administration has already filed an appeal, but for now, most of the tariffs are on hold. That appeal could take months to resolve, and its outcome may shape the balance of power between the Congress and the White House for years to come. Wall Street shares briefly bounced on Tuesday after Trump delayed the levies over the long holiday weekend, although markets were down again Wednesday. Bureau Report, DD India.
Now, Tesla CEO Elon Musk has said he is leaving his role in the US government, in which he was tasked with reducing federal spending shortly after his first major break with Donald Trump over the president's signature spending bill. Elon Musk announced his departure from his role as a top advisor to US President Donald Trump, ending his brief but high-profile tenure as a special government employee tasked with reducing federal bureaucracy. Musk's exit comes amid growing Republican divisions over Trump's controversial spending bill and mounting criticism of the Department of Government Efficiency, which Musk led. Now let's know more about Musk's most memorable moments as Trump's advisor. After Trump's 2024 election win, Musk becomes a key figure in administration. Elon Musk sparks controversy with a gesture at Trump's inauguration event. His gesture sparks a wave of Nazi-related jokes and memes. In 2025, Trump appoints Musk to lead Department of Government Efficiency, which is DOGE, and Musk becomes a near constant presence in White House. Musk has a starring role at Trump's first cabinet meeting. And after Trump imposed sweeping tariffs, Musk called for a US-Europe free trade zone. He leads DOGE to fire thousands of federal workers from US government offices. He faces backlash due to his actions at the Department of Government Efficiency. And Trump repeatedly supports Musk, even showcasing Tesla cars at the White House. Tesla showrooms in the US and abroad attacked, and Musk's close ties to Trump made him a divisive figure. Musk faces declining approval ratings, particularly among Democrats, and Trump indicates Musk would step back from DOGE by mid-2025 to focus on his businesses. On 29th May 2025, Musk quits his role in the US government. Moving on, the United States will start revoking visas of Chinese students, including those with connections to the Chinese Communist Party or studying in critical fields. President Donald Trump's administration has sought to ramp up deportations and revoke student visas as part of wide-ranging efforts to fulfill its hardline immigration agenda. In a statement, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the department will also revise visa criteria to enhance scrutiny of all future visa applications from China and Hong Kong. The number of Chinese international students in the United States has dropped to about 277,000 in 2024 from a high of around 370,000 in 2019. US President Donald Trump voiced reluctance to introduce new sanctions on Russia amid the Ukraine conflict, stating he was concerned they might hinder efforts to secure a ceasefire. While speaking to reporters in the Oval Office during Junine Piro's swearing-in ceremony, Trump expressed deep disappointment over recent events in Ukraine, saying he was very disappointed about the deaths that occurred during what he described as ongoing negotiations, referring to recent Russian strikes. Answering a question on Russia-Ukraine negotiations, Trump said Putin may be intentionally delaying negotiations on a ceasefire in the conflict in Ukraine.
At this point, we're working on President Putin, and we'll see where we are. I think we're doing fine, but we'll see. I don't like what's happening. That's one thing I'll say. I don't like when I see rockets being shot into cities. That's no good. We're not going to allow it.
Meanwhile, Russia has proposed next round of talks with Ukraine in Istanbul on June 2nd to achieve a sustainable peace settlement. In a statement issued on Wednesday, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said that he has briefed U.S. counterpart Marco Rubio on Moscow's preparations for proposed direct talks with Ukraine. Lavrov also said Russian delegation led by Vladimir Medinsky is ready to present the memorandum to the Ukrainian side and to provide necessary clarifications during the second round of resumed direct talks.
The Russian side, as agreed, has promptly developed a relevant memorandum which sets out our position on all aspects of reliably overcoming the root causes of the crisis. Our delegation, led by Vladimir Medinsky, is ready to present this memorandum to the Ukrainian delegation and to provide necessary clarifications during the second round of resumed direct talks in Istanbul next Monday, June 2nd.
And in another update, US President Donald Trump said he told Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu not to act against Iran, calling it inappropriate given the progress of nuclear talks with Iran. Israel was particularly concerned about the possibility of any interim deal that would allow Iran to maintain its nuclear facilities for months or even years while a final agreement was reached. US officials were concerned Israel could decide to strike Iran with little warning and said US intelligence estimated that Israel could mount an attack on Iran in as little as 7 hours. And one of the main sticking points in the talks between US and Iranian officials has been US insistence that Iran give up its nuclear enrichment facilities, a demand Iran rejects. Trump bypassed Israel on its trip to the Middle East this month and has made policy announcements that have shaken Israel's assumptions about its relations with the US.
I told him this would be inappropriate to do right now because we're very close to a solution. Now, that could change at any moment. It could change with a phone call. But right now, I think they want to make a deal, and if we can make a deal, save a lot of lives.
A United Nations warehouse in Gaza was broken into by hordes of hungry people on Wednesday as aid trickles into the Palestinian enclave, and the United States readies new terms for a possible truce between Israel and Hamas. The World Food Programme said initial reports were that 2 people had died and several more were injured at the central Gaza warehouse. The UN agency appealed for an immediate scale-up of food aid to reassure people that they will not starve. Under growing international pressure, Israel ended an 11-week-long aid blockade on Gaza 10 days ago. It has allowed a limited amount of relief to be delivered via 2 avenues, the United Nations or the US-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. At the United Nations, more than half the Security Council called on Wednesday for the 15-member body to act on Gaza. UN Middle East envoy Sigrid Kaag told the Security Council that the amount of aid Israel had so far allowed the UN to deliver was comparable to a lifeboat after the ship has sunk.
On May 18th, the United Nations was informed by the Israeli authorities of the approval for the resumption of limited aid entry into Gaza. Since then, very limited numbers of goods have entered and have been distributed by the United Nations and its partners. But this is comparable to a lifeboat after the ship has sunk.
And US President Donald Trump's Special Envoy Steve Witkoff said that the President Trump is going to review deliveries.
I think that we are on the precipice of sending out a new term sheet that hopefully will be delivered later on today. The President is going to review it, and I have some very good feelings about getting to a long-term resolution, temporary ceasefire, and a long-term resolution, a peaceful resolution of that conflict.
And Israel's UN Ambassador Danny Danon told the Security Council that Israel would allow aid deliveries for the immediate future via both the UN and the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which began aid deliveries on Monday.
While the UN spreads panic and makes declarations detached from reality, the State of Israel is steadily facilitating the entry of aid into Gaza via 2 methods. First, under the old framework via trucks, and second, under the new distribution mechanism developed in coordination with the US and key international partners. As of now, both mechanisms are working simultaneously and will continue to do so for the immediate future. We are not only allowing aid in, but we are ensuring it reaches the people who need it most. Just this Monday, for example, 170 trucks carrying humanitarian aid entered Gaza through Kerem Shalom crossing.
French President Emmanuel Macron continues his week-long trip to Southeast Asia. On Thursday, French President has arrived in Yogyakarta. He was received by his Indonesian counterpart Prabowo Subianto before the 2 leaders took off to visit a military academy in the region. French President in a joint conference said that France and Indonesia have signed a preliminary defense pact that could lead to new orders of French military equipment, including Rafale fighter jets and Scorpion submarines. And each year on May 29th, the world observes the International Day of United Nations Peacekeepers, a day to recognize the service and sacrifice of the men and women who help maintain peace in some of the most challenging environments across the globe.
Since its first mission in 1948, UN peacekeeping has become one of the organization's most visible and vital efforts, involving over 2 million personnel from more than 120 countries. These peacekeepers work to stabilize conflict zones, support elections, protect civilians, and deliver humanitarian aid. In places like South Sudan, Mali, the Democratic Republic of Congo, peacekeeping missions continue to serve as a fragile but critical bridge between war and peace. Among the nations supporting these missions, India has consistently ranked among the largest contributors of uniformed personnel. Over the decades, India has deployed more than 250,000 troops in nearly 50 UN missions, a legacy marked by professionalism, discipline, and engagement with local communities. India's contributions have extended beyond numbers. In 2007, the country was the first to deploy an all-female formed police unit to Liberia, a move praised globally for advancing gender representation in UN operations. But the cost of peace can be high. Over 4,300 peacekeepers have died in the line of duty, more than 180 of them from India. On this day, ceremonies are held around the world to honor their memory and recommit to the pursuit of peace. From conflict zones to post-war recovery, UN peacekeepers continue to serve where the world needs them the most. On this International Day of Peacekeepers, the global community pauses to remember the risk they take and the hope they bring. Akshay Dongre, DD India.
Well, let's now take a look at other stories making news around the world. Bolivian riot police clashed with supporters of former President Evo Morales and coca farmers during anti-government protests. Police fired rubber bullets and tear gas at demonstrators who responded with firecrackers and rocks. The protesters demand that Morales be permitted to run as a presidential candidate in the upcoming August election. China has launched its first mission to collect samples from a nearby asteroid with liftoff of its Tianwen-2 spacecraft. The robotic probe marks a significant step. The mission is the latest milestone in China's rapidly growing space program, which has seen a series of remarkable achievements in recent years. US astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sunita Williams are now resuming duties with NASA and Boeing Starliner team. Both in fact came back on Earth after spending 9 unexpected months on the International Space Station. They originally launched aboard Boeing Starliner capsule for an 8-day test flight, but propulsion issues forced NASA to return the capsule without them extending their mission significantly. Since landing in March, the duo has undergone a standard 45-day rehabilitation, adjusting to Earth's gravity with daily physical therapy. Still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. India's men's doubles pair of Satvik Sairaj Rankireddy and Chirag Shetty progress to Singapore Open quarterfinals. And we'll get you updates on the ongoing French Open. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Sports updates now. We'll start with IPL. The stage is set for qualifier 1 of this year's Indian Premier League as table toppers Punjab Kings will take on Royal Challengers in Mulanpur on Thursday. PBKS secured top 2 finish on Monday after beating Mumbai Indians before RCB joined them after forging a stunning win over Lucknow Super Giants in the final league game of the season. Both teams finished with 21 points from 14 matches, but Punjab Kings have finished at the top with a better net run rate. There is of course plenty at stake in Thursday's clash with a spot in the final awaiting, but the losing side will still get a chance to play in the qualifier 2. At least that should ease the nerves all around for both teams. Badminton now, India's Satvik Sairaj, Ranki Reddy and Chirag Shetty made it to the quarterfinals of the Singapore Open 2025, a BWF World Tour Super 750 event on Thursday. The pair came back from a game down to beat Indonesia Sabar Kariman Utama and Mohammad Reza 19-21, 21-16, 21-18 in 1 hour and 14 minutes. In men's singles, HS Pranoy suffered a straight game defeat against France's Christo Popov. The Indian lost 16-21, 14-21 in a match which lasted 42 minutes. Let's move on to updates from the ongoing French Open tournament. Four-time champion Iga Swiatek defeated British Grand Slam winner Emma Raducanu in the French Open second round, notching up a 6-1, 6-2 victory and stretching her winning run in Paris to 23 consecutive matches. The Poland native will next face Romania's Jacqueline Christian. World number 1 Aryna Sabalenka posted a 6-3, 6-1 win over Switzerland's Jill Teichmann to reach the third round at Roland Garros in Paris. Sabalenka will next face Serbia's Olga Danilovic. Meanwhile, in men's singles, defending champion Carlos Alcaraz booked his place in the third round. Alcaraz defeated unseeded Hungarian Fabian Marozsan in 4 sets on Wednesday. French Open runners-up in 2022 and 23, Norway's Casper Ruud crashed out of the tournament in the second round after losing 2-6, 6-4, 6-1, 6-0 to the unseeded Nuno Borges of Portugal. Football now, Chelsea sparked into life in the second half as they came from behind to claim the Conference League trophy with a 4-1 victory over Real Betis on Wednesday. Goals from Enzo Fernandez and Nicholas Jackson were both set up by the excellent Cole Palmer, plus late strikes from Jadon Sancho and Moises Caicedo secured the silverware. Earlier, Real Betis were 1-0 up at half-time by an early Abde Ezal Zuli strike. The 23-year-old Palmer's 2 assists in 5 minutes during the second half turned the match around for Premier League club Chelsea, and his efforts saw him named player of the game. The victory means Chelsea are the first team to have won all 3 European competitions, having lifted the Champions League twice along with 2 Europa League trophies in their history. Now, incumbent World Anti-Doping Agency President Vitold Banca is set to be re-elected unopposed on Thursday. WADA revealed in March that Banca is only the candidate standing and had submitted his application for re-election. The election will take place during WADA's virtual foundation board meeting on Thursday, and if re-elected, Banca's new term would run for 3 years from January 1, 2026 until the end of December in 2028. Meanwhile, incumbent Vice President Yang is also set to be re-elected unopposed. Banca and Yang have held their respective WADA positions since the start of January 2020. An International Everest Day is observed on 29th May to remember the first successful summit of Mount Everest by 2 brave climbers, Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay in 1953. The day celebrates human spirit and endurance. It is a remarkable reminder of the resilience and determination of outstanding humans like Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay Sherpa, who dared to achieve the impossible. And after climbing the peak of Kanchenjunga at height of 8,586 meters, the Har Shikhar Tiranga mission, launched by a team of the National Institute of Mountaineering and Adventure Sports, has successfully concluded. A 5-member team hoisted the Indian national flag, the Tiranga, on the highest peak of every state across India. The mission was aligned to Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of Meri Mati Mera Desh, when a team collected soil from the mountains of all 28 Indian states. Har Shikhar Tiranga is the first ever expedition in India in which a team climbed the highest points of all 28 Indian states, covering 30,000 kilometers in 1 year.
टाइमिंग सर 11 बजे साहब बिल्कुल बिल्कुल 11 बजे पूरी टीम उतरने की जी सर अभी मैं बता दे रहा हूं सर सभी को
भारत हमको जान से प्यारा है सबसे न्यारा गुलिस्तां हमारा है भारत हमको जान से प्यारा है.
Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.